Well, welcome back, everybody, to the second part of our day four conversation on water photography with Zak Noyle. Zak, if you are there, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and turn your camera on. Well, speak of the devil, that happened so quickly.
I was waiting for you, John. Can you hear me good?
I can hear you perfectly, buddy.
Yes, epic.
So for
Hi,
those of you
guys.
that are not aware, Zak Noyle is an acclaimed surf photographer, water photographer, all around amazing human, Canon explorer of light. And are you actually a Aquatech ambassador? Am I saying that correctly?
Correct.
Yeah.
Aquatech ambassador, and it's been amazing. Just a great journey to be anything that gets me in the water, John. It's
Mhm.
what I want to do, what I want to be a part of. And it's companies that I can be behind that have the same values and mindset of what I want to do. Canon, Aquatech, forward thinking.
Exactly. And it was almost like it was
Yeah.
planned. We ended the conversation with Ralph Lee Hopkins regarding Aquatech. And
I
one
was
of the
listening to
things
that a little.
one of the things that Zak and I have talked about, and for many of you attendees that are out there, if you're not aware, the housing is so much more than just an underwater piece of equipment. And
Mhm,
I've been out on shoots with Ralph.
mhm.
I've used them myself, like I said, for dust cover, for spray by waterfalls, for rainy days. And they are a very, very well made and very useful piece of equipment. It's just funny that I still have one for my prior iPhone, so now I have to buy another one for my new iPhone. But that is the only thing that I can say is that that is Apple's fault.
Yep.
Um, but but still very, very well made items.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do today is just have a conversation regarding water photography and Zak's
Mhm.
evolution and experience as an artist. So just like we did with Ralph and on the prior days, please drop any comments or questions into the chat or into the Q&A module. And this is going to be a little bit more open-ended than what we did with Ralph's presentation. So this is going to be much more of a
Yeah.
dialogue and
Yeah.
conversation for the attendees as well. So if anything comes up, I will jump on top of it a little bit quicker this
Sounds good.
time than holding them off towards the end. But we will have a solid 15 minutes again at the quarter of the hour for anything that may have been overlooked or you were sitting on. So
Absolutely.
Zak, yeah, let's start looking at some images and see
Yeah.
what we can do.
I first off, I appreciate you having me here. Thank you, John and B&H, and I'm very excited to kind of talk shop. John and I are good friends, so it just is a good conversation. We have these conversations all the time, so it's going to be fun to do it with other people around virtually. I'm going to start by showing just a quick little video. It's a video that I put together of some of my more recent work, some video work. And so I'm just going to take over to a quick share the screen. And I hope the audio works. Let me know if not. Good on audio?
Um, Actually, I'm not picking any audio up yet.
Hmm. Well, it's playing through my speakers, so I'm not sure if it's going to come through on that. So I'm sorry about that. So just to kind of give you a glimpse, this is a lot of it is shot with the Canon R5 and the new system, and it's just mind blowing what this new mirrorless system can do. A lot of the times, I'm actually finding myself shooting with the eye tracking for people as well as the animals. There's the animal eye focus, and utilizing those, it has just kind of opened a whole new world for me in shooting in the water and being able to shoot moments like these of surf.
Wow.
I think the surf is a little bit more of what I'm known for. This is where really my element of being in big, large waves and capturing high speed and the action of what's kind of going on. But the stuff below the surface, the wildlife, that's something that it's very passionate about, something that I love to be able to like capture and do. And so just to kind of give you guys a glimpse into my world, this is a little preview into my world and what I like to do.
Stunning.
Quick little preview there. So, just wanted to give you a little background on who and what I am and what I do, and that gives you kind of like literally we're diving into to what I do and how I do it. So, yeah, John, let's talk about some images.
All right. I just wanted to point out before we jump into your slideshow, I am
Yes,
wearing my Western Aloha shirt
I
for you
love it.
today, Zak. I
I
just wanted
love it.
to represent some of the island love that you gave me
Yeah,
here in New York City
abs-
today.
Absolutely. Great looking shirt. Got to get you back out here soon, John.
Absolutely.
So, so this kind of just gives you a preview. This is how I'm shooting a lot of these images. I'm not going in the water with a board. Anything like that would get in the way. So it's swim fins, a water housing, and many times with the swim mask if I'm going to be shooting below the surface. So the water housing is very different from, let's say, a dive housing. A dive housing, you're going to find a little bit more bulky, a little bit overbuilt, and very heavy. So the dive housing is made to go deep depths, 100 feet, whereas the splash housing is made to go to about 30 to 40 feet deep. This is more for surface level. Like John was saying earlier, you know, you want to shoot it in the rain, on the lake, in the waterfall, anything to do with water that you want to do with less bulk, that's where you're going to be using more of a splash housing. Here it is. This is my office, ladies and gentlemen. This is my happy place. This is really where I can thrive and create. This is Pipeline on the North Shore, and where I really found a love for photography is being in waves and being able to capture these moments that 99.9% of the people will never get to see with their own eyes. I can now capture these moments and share it with the world through my lens. So it's kind of my thing. Here's one surf photo before we kind of jump into some of the wildlife photography. And this is shot with a 50 millimeter lens on a Canon 1DX Mark III. And this shows how big, how blue these waves really get out at Pipeline. And it's something that forever captivated. You know, there's no two waves alike. That's what I love about shooting this. It's how you position yourself. If I was 10 feet closer, photo would come out. 10 feet further in, I would be getting caught by the wave. Out, you'd miss it. So there's a great deal of luck and maneuvering when it comes to shooting in the water like this for waves. And that's what I love about it. It's really being in the zone and being in that moment, you know, to be able to capture that.
And, you know, I'd actually like to talk about that. And this is a great visual for that. One of the things that impressed me the most, and the very first time I heard you give a lecture, was the amount of preparation it takes to be able to get into the water like this, the amount of swimming you're doing, the amount of working out you're doing, to be able to be in waves this large all day, to be able to get the shot. Where did this training come from? Is this just being in the water your whole life and you learned it? Was this something you spoke with a mentor? How did you get to that point?
Absolutely. And you know what's funny? I literally just came from a run and a swim with my dad down the street at Ala. So I'm in Hawaii right now. It is 8 a.m. We got down there about 6:30 a.m., got in the water, ran the beach, had a great time. And, you know, it's that preparation and training, treating myself like an athlete. Because as you saw, I'm swimming in the elements. I'm swimming in very large waves. I'm diving into deep depths. You need to be prepared, not only mentally, but also physically. And it's such an important thing because it could be something so overlooked. It's like, oh yeah, grab the camera, go and just do. But I'm out there for hours sometimes. And so growing up in high school, I actually did swimming and water polo. And both of them helped me so much in just like being so comfortable in the water. I mean, I still swim, you know, I still want to be out in the water. I still want to just anything to do like that. But without that preparation, moments like you see here on your screen would not be possible, you know, and then that mental challenge of being right in that zone. That's what I love about it, John.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks. So jump into a little wildlife. Something you guys will notice with my wildlife photography that I really love doing, as well as on land too, a lot of my lifestyles, is shooting with a very shallow depth of field. And many people don't do that. When you look at a lot of the wildlife photography, and we'll look at some of here, but majority underwater, you're looking at many fish eyes, wide angle lenses, everything in focus, getting all of the elements. To me, I really like to draw the eye to the subject. And we'll see that here. And I'll call out the lenses of what we shoot and what we do. You know, this is a turtle, a green sea turtle. We call them honu here in Hawaii. And this is just off the coast of North Shore. And this was shot with a 24 millimeter, the 24 1.4. It's an EF lens by Canon. And I love shooting it pretty wide open, you know, 1.6, 1.8, even 1.4. And you can see how that focus goes right to the turtle's head there. And to me, that draws your attention in a lot better than having just so wide of a shot with a fisheye. And I know like fisheye works great underwater. And again, we will see some of those shots. But to me, being able to draw the viewer's eye immediately and right to the point that I want it to see, I love that control, I guess, to kind of like dictate their viewing experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sure does. And, you know, bringing a fine art aesthetic to capturing the local wildlife within Hawaii, you know, this is as fine a piece of fine art to be framed and hung as anything I've seen. And, you know, I'm not even a big turtle fan.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I love the
Thank
idea
you.
of having that intention, you know, coming
Yes.
into it with the preparation and understanding
Yeah,
of how you want to shoot.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Some dolphins. I think this was again with the 24, one of my favorite lenses. Guys, do yourself a treat. Like get that 24 as a lifestyle lens. I shoot it for everything lifestyle on land. It is tack sharp, just gorgeous quality, colors. It's fast as well. So it really works in this moment. You know, when shooting dolphins like this, and one thing to remember with wildlife, everyone, if they don't want to be photographed, they don't want to be photographed. I think they can sense your energy, especially when I'm jumping in the water like this. They know your intention, they know what you're after, and they can feel that energy. So if I'm just chasing the dolphins and going after swimming fast, splashing, they're going to go away. These dolphins are nocturnal creatures, so a lot of times they're coming in the early morning when you find them to shoot, and they're going in to go sleep on the more shallow area over the sand where they're a little safer away from the deeper depths. When they're doing this, they don't always want to be bothered, but they still are a little playful. So if you get them in a good mood, you're gonna get great stuff. A lot of those videos that you saw to begin with was actually shot in Waimea Bay on the North Shore. Swam out, saw a few dolphins far away. You're gonna waste energy going to chase them. Sit, waiting. They came to us, and for 45 minutes, just were doing circles around us. Just an incredible experience that you couldn't like emulate. You need to go with that intention, you guys. Whatever you're shooting, underwater, above water, whatever it is, it's your energy, it's your intention. If you're shooting models, waves, go with those intentions and that good energy. And I feel that can make all the difference for you. That is what can help you to capture those moments and have them come to you rather than you just chasing and wasting energy.
That's great. And I think that's a common theme that we've heard, whether it's bear photography, whether it was shooting birds. Almost every one of the photographers this week has had that same mindset that what you bring into the field, the animals even more so than humans are going to be able to pick up on that. So I love it. And it leads into a question that we have. Not only the energy that you're bringing, but what safety precautions are you using when you're in the water?
Dive with a buddy. I think that's a very, very important first and foremost. I mean, know your limits, obviously, but diving with a buddy, having a game plan. There are shallow water blackouts, so it's a very important thing. A lot of these times, I'm not using scuba gear to dive here. I'm doing 20, 30 feet. So it's a lot more like breaths up and down. You know, in this moment, it's a 45-minute shoot. If the dolphins even come to you, you're getting those moments. Oh, you're out snorkeling, you see a turtle, quick moments. So it's that conditioning, comes back to it, knowing your limits, and swimming with a buddy, swimming with someone that has your back on that sense, where you can keep an eye on each other. No shallow water. You don't want any shallow water blackouts. Very dangerous. And then having a good pair of fins. A good pair of fins is going to help you if you're getting caught in a current or different things. One thing that I always talk about for surfing, you know what? It applies to shooting underwater as well, because especially in these kind of moments, is you need to know how to get out of the water. It's easy to jump off the rocks and jump in the water for the waves or to go swim with the dolphins. How are you going to get out of the water? Always have an exit plan so that you know exactly how and what you're going to do in order to get out of the water safely.
Well, and now when you're doing big wave photography, are you also doing that with a partner, or are you doing that completely solo?
So when I'm doing big wave photography, if it's very large, we're using jet skis. So there's the safety factor of jet skis. Or if I'm swimming out, I'm with several surfers and we're looking after each other. When the surfers have a bad wipeout, I'm watching for them. If I get caught inside on big set, the surfers are watching out for me. It's a symbiotic and relationship that we all need to kind of do to kind of take care of each other. We're there for the love, we're there for each other and to have a good time and come home safely.
Fantastic.
Here's another shot, guys. And this is actually shot with a 50 millimeter underwater. And this is my version of a portrait for wildlife. And you can see that depth of field. You can see the bubbles kind of behind and just everything and just right on his eye. And again, he came to me. I was backing up and just had that shot. So I'd love to explore more of these type of shots of these like portraits in nature and being able to do that. Again, they're wild animals, they're wild creatures. So having that respect and giving them their space and allowing them to come to you, never want to be like baiting them with food. You never want to, some people would like do like shark dives here and they chum the water. You never want to do that. So you associate humans with food for wild animals like that, especially photographing in these moments. You don't want to be bringing up food for them to like be attracted to that, to come. Energy, folks.
It's
So
it's
that's
a
going to be the
beautiful
best way.
portrait, and I don't know if you saw my thumbnail. I immediately started smiling ear to ear when it popped up. This seems like it could evolve into the next Disney main character in one of their films. So much
Absolutely.
character right in that eyeball just looking
Right.
right at you. Gorgeous shot, Zach.
Thank you very much, John. So again, and this one was shot with a 24 millimeter. Again, folks, you're seeing this depth of field. You're seeing how your eye gets drawn right into the turtle. And that's what I want. I want those intentional photos that create emotion. I want something that you can look at it and feel instantly. I don't want you to look at it and be lost in the moment trying to find, or to each their own with editing. But it's so important to me to always edit in the way that I saw the image, and to give nature justice. Nature is the best artist, right? So it's like, if we can be able to like capture that and share that in the way that we saw it, I feel that's doing it justice.
Yeah, that's great. And two questions popped up while you were showing this this image, and they're tied together. So
Okay.
I would like to propose them to you. The first one is, what protection are you using for your camera while you're in the water?
Using Aqua housing.
Hmm?
So it's a great housing, light, um, fully functioning on all the buttons, very important. It's a splash housing again, folks. So splash housing only goes to about 30 to 40 feet deep. This is made for shallower depths, surface level, rain, any kind of thing like that. This is what I want to be using. The ports all change on the front. I'll be able to show you guys a little bit later how we load the housing and kind of put everything together and the ease of use. And this is made for the Canon R5. So these ports, I actually can change to any lens. I've actually taken the 600 millimeter RF lens in the water in a port. I mean, it was about this
Wow.
big, but I got it in the water and was able to shoot with it. And that's like the beauty of these, that you can change it. There's dome ports for like more of the fisheye lenses and different things. So you get a great variety of different functions and equipment to be in the water. And you said there's one more question, John?
There sure was. Excuse me. And it's in regards to, you brought it up within editing of the image, and there was the question of, is there a suggestion that you have for editing underwater photography specifically, and how are you avoiding backscatter?
Absolutely. I don't quite understand the backscatter. If you can maybe pinpoint that a little bit more for me.
Sure. I would assume, and if you're in the chat, go ahead and you can also
Yeah,
correct me if
please.
I'm saying this wrong. But I would think it would be in framing of the image to not have so much in the background to detract from the subject.
Well, I mean, that kind of differs from like moment to moment, right? Of how much kind of things are going on with the subject. If it's just, this would have still been a beautiful image if there was no fish in the background. But it's something also like to have all of those like fish, I think add to it with your subject really like the light is just hitting that turtle just as perfect as it kind of gets. One of the things that my dad always says actually is shoot loose, edit tight. It's like, what? Like, we shoot digital, guys, in these moments. And when you're shooting something like this, I'm firing sequences. My cameras are shooting 14 frames per second, 20 frames per second. Why am I shooting so much that I have to edit? Because I want to find that moment when his fin, his eyes looking right, all of these things. I can't go back to this exact moment. But if I can capture it in this time and go through, okay, I have 100 images. This one, cool. That's what you guys are seeing right here. I shot 1,000 photos this day, maybe. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah.
Here's my one photo that you guys are getting to see that I'm proud of. And so finding those moments and shooting loose, editing tight is a very important thing, especially with digital. I think another big component of that is doing a test shot when you have digital. I always do that. Get in the water, fire it before you even get in the water. Make sure your camera's on before you're in the water. Luckily, this amazing new housing has an on-off switch for the camera, which they've never had before. So that's a game changer in itself. But always test your camera before going in the water, before you're shooting. If you're shooting above the surface, you're checking your exposure, same as below. So
Got it.
in terms of editing, a lot of times, because I'm not doing scuba diving where you're 30 feet and more, 30 to 100 feet, a lot of light is being cut. So you're losing all the reds and you're going to very much like heavy blues when you're shooting this. So when I was editing this photo in particular, I'm bringing back a lot of like more of the tint into the magenta and bringing in the temperature a little bit warmer. But, and again, to each their own, I wanted to ensure that this was exactly the colors of the turtle in my mind of what I had seen. I don't want to make him neon green, but again, to each their own. But, so you're looking for that, but bringing in that magenta is going to be able to bring back your skin tone. So if you're shooting someone diving, bringing in those magentas and bringing in that like a little bit more of the warmth, you're able to bring that back and get those skin tones.
Got it. And Daryl did write in, and what he meant by backscatter were particulates in the water. So different items that are floating in, and how do you deal with that?
I am so very fortunate I get to live in Hawaii and shoot some crystal clear water. I wish I had thrown in some photos from this past week I had just shot, and we didn't have the clearest water. So it does happen. Sometimes it is unavoidable. What I have found is when you have a little bit more of a murky water, a little more like backscatter or particles in the water, shooting into the light. So instead of like front lighting your subject, oh, sorry, my camera just went to sleep. Turning it back on, guys. Still here. Still okay.
Yep.
So instead of shooting and going front lit with your subject, if you shot it backlit a little bit more, you're actually getting a lot more sun rays because of those particles in the water and everything. So utilize it to your best. You get in, not crystal clear water. Let me shoot it a little backlit. You're actually going to get a lot of more sun rays coming through the water when you're shooting it backlit with that debris, as opposed to if it was crystal clear water, you're not going to get a lot of that. So I guess using it to the best of your ability. Every location, every place is different. Every water clarity, day to day, it could be pouring rain over here. It's not as clear. So utilizing that, checking it, making sure that you have good conditions before you went on a job or a shoot, and just checking that. So I hope that helps, Daryl. And
yeah, it answered it for me. That helped very well for how you were able to do that. Fantastic.
Cool. So above surface, little wildlife, but to me, this is just mind blowing. So I was testing the new Canon RF 600 millimeter lens in the R6. This was shot with the 600 handheld at 25,000 ISO. And I just wanted that detail in the bird's hair was terrifying. I'm not a bird photographer, but when I shot this just grab and go as the bird was going, it really scared me of like the quality and what we do. And I think that's utilizing technology. and the beauty of like the progression of these like incredible cameras. One thing that I'm using a lot that I never thought I would be doing is using the eye focus, the eye tracking. And on this R5 and the R6, the eye tracking is just phenomenal. The R5, what I've been doing for a lot of my underwater images with like animals or subjects is using the eye focus tracking. And it is spot on. It has changed the way I shoot. I almost feel a little silly because at Canon, they're like, hey, try to just use the back screen. Don't use the viewfinder. Just try when you're trying to shoot, you know, just as a test and a trial. I was like, what? Like, I feel so weird, like shooting like this as opposed to putting my camera up to my face. And I was like, how come? And he goes, Zach, when you're shooting a subject and you're looking through the viewfinder, you're only seeing that. Now, you hold it here, look at your peripheral that you're seeing. Okay, now you're seeing that tree that you couldn't see because you're so macro focused on something right here, you're missing what's going on around. So now my eyes are constantly on a swivel as well as the subject, and I'm able to compose my shots differently. I feel a little silly, but holding it and shooting this way has changed the way I shoot. It has changed my images and what I'm creating. And it's, you got to use technology, I guess, is where I'm trying to go. It's like, you know, utilize technology to the best to your workflow. Make it easy. Work smart, not hard, you know, in that sense. Still work
great.
hard.
And are you photographing lifestyle the same way, or is this just within?
Absolutely. Because John, with this face tracking, if I put it on your face, and you know, a lot of times when I shoot editorial, all these different things, you know, you need that offset to the left, offset to the right, space above, all these kind of things, logos, print, all these kind of things that you need to account for your client. And when shooting that, I used to change my focus point. Okay, hold on, changing it to the right, changing it to the left. Now I'm just like, and it's in focus. It's scary. Oh, I have so many shots that I'm like halfway turning and I'm still holding the button shooting that are like way crooked and don't work. But I'm just like, you know, and I'm just holding it down shooting.
Oh, that's great.
Why not?
Yeah.
So, it's one of my favorite images. I mean, I shot a bunch of images this day and I couldn't get the one I wanted. They were swimming around kind of there and I was too high. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to take a big breath. This is with 11 to 24 folks. So this is where the fisheye look, the very wide angle comes into play a little bit more as you see everything's in focus. I knew I was shooting dolphins. I wanted to have a little bit more of like my focus kind of going rather than a very shallow depth of field or a very like more tight lens, telephoto lens. And so kind of you see, I was like, I got to dive in, and they just came around me like that. And it was just an insane moment. You know, the dolphins, there'll be anywhere from 50 to several hundred of them at a time when they're coming. And it's, quite an experience. You hear them before you see them, you know, underwater. A few just like moments of like texture and shooting with some different things. The middle shot is actually shot as is with an 800 and a doubler and just getting a rainbow. So lucky in Hawaii. And, you know, I think this reminds me of a moment of enjoying the moment. Also like never taking anything for granted. I'm so lucky to be here in Hawaii and always I see a rainbow, I'm still enjoying, I'm still taking a picture with my phone or doing something, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it's such a special thing to be in nature and to see what it creates. And these kind of moments like that, it's some things that we should never, ever take for granted.
That's great words to live by. And this is actually a perfect image to ask this question. In your experience, is there anything such as bad light, or does it all come down to how you shoot?
Well, look at it. So on the left side, very orange red, we have the sunset going. These are all shot with a very long lens, 600 millimeter, 800 doubler, 600 on the left, the doubler with the 800 in the middle. And on the right side, this is as glared out as it possibly gets, probably middle of the day, out at sea shooting. But the blues to me, it's like every blue you can possibly think of. And I love that. So I think it's how you work it, how you make it. I would not want to shoot a lifestyle campaign in the middle of the day per se, unless I really had to. I'd want to be using some more dramatic light or something I could control a little bit more. Whereas if you were shooting underwater, middle of the day is the best time. You're getting the most light filtering through the water. So this is actually a much better time for you to be able to shoot, as opposed to being shooting in the later afternoon, right before sunset. Still good, but not as bright. And it won't give you as much colors and light. You're going to get those crystal blue colors middle of the day, more of a green in the evening because of that sun setting. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Little over under split. Again, this is with the fisheye. So this shows you using a big dome port. This is in Tahiti at Moorea, and shooting these rays as they go by. Guys, when shooting and doing these things, it's, again, shooting a ton. This water line is changing constantly. The rays are coming in, all these different things going. So there's a lot of like elements and variables in order to get these shots.
Mm-hmm. And it's a good lead into a statement I want to make, as well as the question to start it off. An attendee asked if you had any thoughts on the Aqua housing for the iPhone. And the statement I'm going to make is that I personally have used it with Zak in Honolulu. We did Zak did a guided photo shoot in the water, and we had 2 surf models. And to the point of, how do you like it? I'll let you answer for yourself, but I can say I absolutely fell in love with it. Back of the phone operations are still there. You can fire with the button if you would like. I had a trigger on mine. I knew this shot of yours prior to going in, and my only intention of the day was to get an over under. I probably shot about 600 images on my iPhone, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to leave it to the professionals. But yeah, your thoughts on the Aqua housing?
It's great. I mean, the Axis Go is an incredible housing for the phone, and it allows you to get in the water, create differently, have fun with it. It puts very much ease with the touchscreen, like right at your fingertips. And so it's been a fun one to go for, like a quick swim or a body surf, or just, hanging on a boat or doing different things. It makes it fun and easy to do. And like John said, you got to shoot a ton of photos. It can't hurt that I'm in Tahiti on this photo. You know what I mean? Like, with crystal clear water and no wind, so that doesn't hurt to be able to shoot some moments like this, indeed. But yeah, it's fun. I'm looking forward to workshops again, hopefully in the near future, and being able to do that. We do some amazing hands-on water workshops, and from different skill levels, from very basic beginner all the way up. We've done some great destination workshops with Canon around the surf events and different things. So really looking forward to being able to do that in person and in real life again soon.
As am I. So excited to get back out there.
Right. So, I just want to show this. This is it's not your atypical photo, a lot kind of going on, but I love like the patterns, textures kind of going on. This shot with a 16 to 35 millimeter lens, and just fish everywhere, kind of that moment. It's not your atypical shot. I don't need it just focus on the one moment or the one thing. It kind of gives you a whole lot of feelings going on there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful abstract piece of art, as well as a fantastic water piece that's stunning.
Thank you, John. I like this image for a reason, and this was shot with the 24 1.4, but the water texture above. So many times, I mean, sharks generally don't like if you go beneath them. They like to be that bottom creature in the ocean. But looking at this water texture on the surface, rain, wind, even with it calm like this, the textures that you can get is something to remember when you're shooting wildlife or people or anything like that. It gives you a whole different feel looking up at that surface of the water. That rain can just add a whole different element, wind whipping across it, white water, all of those kind of things, or just glassy like this. So when you're shooting a lot of your wildlife and your different things, remember that when you're shooting. It doesn't have to just be deep blue sea water behind them or the coral reef. If you're able to safely and respectfully get beneath a subject in this way, it can add a whole different element and kind of bring it all together.
gorgeous.
Thank you. And I think this is one of our last water photos, Sean. And then I have the
Okay.
other gear for the housing after this. So,
Absolutely.
on the left, this is shot with the 11 to 24. And this photo on the left is one of my absolute favorites of a dolphin. And I get that playful feel as they're kind of going by, but that sun coming through, just this is an early morning shot. So you're still able to get those blues, but it's like 9 a.m., 8, 9 a.m. in the morning, and just hard to beat. This is off the coast of Hawaii on the Big Island, and it's great moments. But you see, as I shoot towards the surface and you get the sun, as opposed to shooting down with the dolphins kind of going below me, you're getting two very, very different looks, same day.
Wow. And with the amount of time that you have spent in the ocean and understanding these aesthetics, is it your intention when you are approaching the dolphins to shoot them in a similar way, or are you constantly trying to reinvent the images that you've shot? Because the image to the left, like you said, same day to the image to the right. And if you would have spent more time floating, your entire day would have been more dark, still insanely beautiful, rich colors, but there's just so much playfulness and just it's kind of like an evoking joy on the left hand side and a little bit of melancholy on the right hand side.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, and that's the thing. I mean, when I'm shooting in manual settings because I want to have that control over it. So there's a lot of different like variables, especially shooting into the sun as opposed to shooting down with a little bit darker water. So it's being conscious of those things. But what's beautiful, I can change it so quickly on the housing. I don't want to be like fumbling through or like, oh, you said it and that's all you get. I want to be able to have that control over everything that I'm shooting so that I'm able to evoke the emotion that I intend to create. And so having that control is paramount to me. But having it in such a way that like it's so easy to do is so important, right? I definitely don't want to be struggling or missing a shot. So it's something that's very important to me.
And, we are going to transition over to a very good surprise for all of the attendees. You will be hearing live for the first time a fantastic announcement. But I had a couple more questions before we move on.
Absolutely.
First one was, do you prefer to shoot with a flat or a dome port?
So it really depends on your lens, folks. If I'm shooting with a 50, a 24, a 16-35, they're all flat lenses, So I'm going to use a flat port. It's optically correct if you're doing that. You can get away with it the other way. You could go back and forth, but think of it. If you're using a flat lens and you have a curved piece of glass in front of it, this is so optically beautiful. Why would you want to like harm it? I only want to enhance and like help it, you know what I mean, to be able to create. Now, if I'm shooting with a fisheye 11 to 24 and the glass on the front is curved, bubbled, I want to optically, like be correct for that. And so by using a dome for a dome, it makes sense. So you kind of want to like utilize what you're using for lens. Like I said, you can get away with it if you needed to, or we're in a pinch, or that's what you have. But optically, I want this lens as close to the port front as possible. And I want to just have whatever it is. So if it's curved, I want curved as close, you know what I mean? So you will always want to have those kind of things line up so that it's correct.
And that leads into another question of, is there any degradation in image quality by putting it into the housing?
No, I've shot one of my recent shoots, or right before, about 2 years ago, was Michael Phelps. And I was so fortunate to go shoot 4 or 5 days with Michael Phelps and shooting his new like swim campaign and all his goggles. I shot everything above the surface level of the water, underwater with the housing. You could not tell a difference. You don't want to lose any quality. That would be terrible. They're using premium glass on the front. Everything is so well thought out and done that it needs to enhance it. It needs to be an extension of the camera. If it was to take away anything, oh man, I lose 3 stops on the camera, or it's slightly blurry, I wouldn't be using that. I couldn't be. My clients demand the best, especially in these moments that you're trying to capture, many of which can't be recreated. I want something that's going to just enhance what I'm doing.
Great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then we have, looks like Atort Photography is another Hawaiian, Aloha Zak. And they just wanted to make a comment that the local laws are changing on proximity to dolphins in Hawaii. So they just wanted to make sure that people, if they are going to be traveling to Hawaii, check on what those restrictions may be if they're changing soon. I didn't know if you
Absolutely.
were aware of that, or if you wanted to speak to interacting
Absolutely.
with local wildlife, like you've said multiple times, with respecting the wildlife.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that you would
So
like to
wherever
add to
you're
that.
going, you should check your laws. I mean, I think that's a very important thing. I went to, I can't even remember what the place was. Um, I went to some islands off the coast of like Spain, and we were swimming with some whales, and it was protected by the government, and you had to go with someone licensed that knew how to go, and you couldn't. So there was a lot of laws, but it's checking where you're going, how you're going about it, and what you're doing, not touching the wildlife, not going, and so always checking the local laws, very important to do wherever it is, rather than just pinpoint, oh, this is Hawaii's one, this is this. Every single country has different laws, every single place that you go to, and it's being respectful. The locals and as the locals are considered the wildlife too. Yeah.
Well, very good. So I believe it is a good time if you want to move on, if you have another slide, or if you want to go straight into it and look
Here
at that
we
beautiful
go.
thing. Well, the number one question everybody has is, what is
Yeah.
this? And we are going to be making the announcement live on air with you right now that B&H and Zak Noyle with Aquatech are doing the launch of his signature housing. It's going to be a limited release through B&H. Zak actually has it on the table, as well as we're going to go through some images. So
Yep.
let's talk about the evolution of this and how this came about, and what we can look forward to on the exciting upgrades for the R5 and R6 housing.
Yes, I mean, this is something I've been working on for a long time with yourself too, and it's been very fun. It's the edge housing from Aquatech just released recently, less than a month ago, and we've been working on this in a special color. I've been working with them since concept. Been so fortunate to be able to use R5 and R6 before they came out with Canon, and so it's something that's been a long time coming, and being able to use a housing that is so forward thinking, as well as like customizable and tech savvy, it's something that we need. Again, this is just light years ahead of just like what they've had before, and to me, you need something that complements it. You need to be able to use that. Like, I don't want to put this in here and be losing any quality of any sort. So it's so exciting to be able to launch this and to be exclusive at B&H. We have only a limited number of housings. It launches right now, and there's only going to be a limited number of housings for the R5 as well as for the R6, and you won't be able to find them anywhere else. I think the beauty of having it with B&H as a partner, and to be able to have them to see the vision of creating with this and being able to launch it right here with Wildlife Week is a very special moment for me. So thank you so much, John, and to B&H for allowing me to dream and to be able to do this. And of course, Aquatech for making it happen.
Of course, and it's an honor on our side to have this exclusively with you. And I remember when we first started talking with this, and like you said, Aquatech is an amazing organization, great products. This has been something a long time in the coming, and we're really excited about it. The question just came in though: are we going to have one for the Sony A1? Right now, the housing is just for this particular launch with the R5 and the R6. So if you wanted a Zak Noyle signature limited edition, that is all that we are having. However, I'm sure the Edge in other colors will come out for the Sony A1. But I'd love to
Yeah,
see if we have any more images or any other
yes.
content for the people.
So just kind of showing you guys, they've made a hinge system on this, and they have perfected it. We've gone through many different rounds of testing on this. I've taken into some of the largest waves. I've taken to deeper depths. It is incredible. But the hinge system is amazing because what it allows you to do is you now have two buckles. And then I'm just going to try to open this backwards. So you have two buckles and the whole hinge comes off there. So now that that comes off, it's just two buckles right there. And then it locks into a hinge system and closes. So the ease of use, the ease of putting it in, as well as how secure it is as a housing, has never been seen in this way. Yes, they're making it for several of the other mirrorless cameras on the market. In this red and with B&H, we will only be having the R5 and R6 of what I use personally. And I know they come in different colors, but you'll never see this color again anywhere else, which is pretty exciting with this like color scheme and colors all around it. So, you know, it's pretty exciting. But as you can see here on the back, we have so many different buttons, and the buttons over there, a lot of them I customize for myself. You have an on-off switch. I have access to everything. I want to go in the water and be able to change everything quickly, photo to video, all of those things at the touch of your fingertips, because that's what you want to do. You don't want to be missing the shot. So it's very exciting. You know, camera plugs in right here. I can just quickly show you guys. So we just plug it right in to the bottom of the camera. This allows you, with it plugged in to the remote, to use the new button system. The new button system on the Aquatech is phenomenal. Halfway push is focusing, just like the shutter on your camera, all the way push, and you're shooting the photo. There is a pistol grip that you can get as well, but just having that like ease of use and just another extension of your camera rather than an actual mechanical button, it's gorgeous. So the camera then, sorry, I'm gonna just have to put it down there. The camera then just slides in. There's a plate on the bottom that comes with the housing, and it just slides right in, just like that. I'll show you how we just hinge the system. It just goes on just like that. And now you're locked and you're ready. No wing nuts, no bolts, no nothing. You're ready to jump in the water right now. And it's
wow,
gorgeous
fast
camera,
and
gorgeous
great
housing.
Look at that in use.
Another quick little shot. Yeah, and you know, like we were saying, this is for the surface of the water. This is for 30 feet underwater. This is for shooting those lifestyles. This is splash housing. You want to go to the lake? Perfect. Oh, it's pouring rain. You want to go to the waterfall? Whatever it is, this is that housing that is just another extension of your camera. It allows you to go do those things with great ease while protecting your camera and doing that.
Yeah, and you know, Ralph spoke about this on the last seminar we had regarding why it's so important to have a weatherproof camera, because you do not know what the elements are going to do, and this allows you to take it to another step. And you know, like you said, you're fortunate enough to be in Hawaii. I do not know that I would take this in the Hudson River of New York anytime. However, if the mood struck me, you have the ability to be on land, in the water, continue to shoot uninterrupted. We did have a question, you know, what lenses work best with the housing?
It really depends on what you're shooting, your preferences of it. I have the 50 in here right now. You saw I shot with the 11 to 24, the 24 prime, 16 to 35. I've put the 85 in here, 70 to 200. Anything you make other than one of the very large like white like glass lenses, you can fit in a housing. The ports are all interchangeable. So the ports you can get to accommodate what lens you have.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And again, I dropped a link into the chat for any of you if you'd like to view it. It will update today. It is showing pre-order, but it will update today. And we do have a limited run of 50 units. So this, like Zach said, is a one-time deal with that signature color that they will not produce again. So pretty excited to have that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John.
Absolutely. Do we have any more of the images?
This is just a closing image. This is me. I mean, that's with a larger housing there. You see the 1DX Mark III there, and 11 to 24. You can see the dome. But this is just me in my element, you know, and kind of a good image to kind of close off here. And No,
Absolutely. And,
come back
that
in
is
March.
probably the best Facebook profile pic I've ever seen. And I would
Right?
be remiss if I also did not bring up the fact that you are repping Ruka pretty well, and we sell the Zak Noyle Ruka
Yeah.
backpack and duffel as
Yes.
well. Zach was kind enough to
Yeah.
send me one. I had no intention to have a roll top duffel style photo bag be my primary bag. And after the first time I used it, it is my go to bag when we were able to commute and travel for everything. Extremely well thought out, very well designed. And
Yeah.
again, like all things with Zach, it is a water resistant bag. So you cannot take it in the ocean with you, but it will do a great job of being on the beach and going around. And actually, it's funny, when I went to Hawaii, Zach, I don't know if I told you this or not, but Gabe and I were out hiking, and like, you live there, a storm came through. The bag did extremely well in an actual
Yeah.
full blown Hawaiian rainstorm. So I don't know the water resistance rating, but it can
Yeah.
definitely handle any of the weather that you'd go out there. I'm going to drop that link in as well.
Absolutely. That's a fun one. I'm stoked how that came out, and designing that from the ground up literally. And to follow it up, we came out with a second iteration, and then we came out with the duffel, and we have some really great new products coming out this summer. So very exciting times. And again, thank you so much to B&H and John for believing in me and my vision of these creations and wild ideas. To have something exclusive on B&H is incredible. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And we do have a few more questions that I'll just round it out. And
Absolutely.
it's a attendee spends part of the year in Molokai, and was
Mhm.
asking, where are you primarily photographing on the island? Is I assume the question. If I am asking that incorrectly, please do throw it in the chat. But if you have favorite spots that you do
On,
your trips,
on Oahu? Was that?
yes.
Sorry. There's so many amazing places to shoot here, and I mean, I think almost even following the sun. We're an island, so you can literally hit every corner of the island within a day. And starting your day on the east side, Sandy's, Makapu, it allows you to see that sunrise and start your day right. As you kind of work your way over, you could either go South Shore or more of the east side, and on the west side, and you're able to see a beautiful island, and different places like different light. And again, folks, like, you come with respect, you're going to be okay. You know what I mean? You're going to be good. It's going with that mindfulness, like, for the locals as well as the locations and wildlife and the people.
And I will say, I know
Yeah.
that we do have an attendee who is on the island. The beauty of the island is in itself overwhelming. Like Zach said, to be able to have had dinner with your family on the ocean, just staring at the beauty of it. But what overwhelmed me, and I was unaware of, was the hospitality. I grew up in the South, and I thought I knew hospitality pretty well until I went to Hawaii. And not even being with the Noyle family, but everywhere that we went, over the top, just hospitality like you would not believe,
Yeah.
from the North Shore all the way
Oh,
over
lost my count.
to
Yeah.
Waikiki. So
Right.
it is a beautiful thing. The question, actually, I apologize,
Right.
Daryl did reframe it for me. Do you have any photo workshops coming up?
Man, we're hoping to. So I guess, I mean, if that's okay with John, talk about the one we have coming up in Hawaii, potentially. Hopefully, we get John involved in here. But I'm going to be doing one around an event called PhotoCon Hawaii, and it's my dad's photo workshops, and it is a amazing and great experiential workshop in Hawaii, where you're going to be leaving with some of your best images ever shot. And we're creating full experiences. It's not just water. Water is one portion of the grand scheme of things. I think there's drones, there's going to be wedding photography, car photography, anything and everything in one of the craziest settings we have here in Hawaii. So we haven't quite announced everything just yet, but I think it's coming up. And thanks for dropping the link there, John. And so that will be a fun one. I believe my dad will be pissed, but I think it's in October. Maybe not. John probably knows better, but yeah,
Well,
August,
the very
September.
interesting thing for the attendees to hear, so you kind of have a genesis of the the Zach and John origin story is I cold called Zach. I saw his imagery. I was just blown away. I wanted to work with him. I wanted to get to know him. And for months, he and I were trying to find something that was organic and was not forced to be able to do the event. And it turned out we were not able to execute. It was moving further and further into the fall, and surf photography in New York is in the fall, but the water is super cold.
Right.
So, we'll make something happen. And unbeknownst to me, a coworker of mine was dealing with his father for Photocon Hawaii. So I was able to go out to Hawaii and attend the event. And if you are on the island or if you're anywhere near, I highly recommend it. If you are in Florida or New York, I highly recommend it. It was one of the most engaging and fun events that I've done. Like Zach said, we hosted a lens baby workshop. There was a lifestyle, there was wedding, there was everything you can do. So definitely a fantastic workshop if you are able to get out there and get in the water with Zach at some point, if that can happen again.
That'll be fun. We will be doing a 2-day workshop there. So that will be a lot of fun in the mornings, each morning. So looking forward to that and seeing you. But yeah, thank you so much again, John, for your time, and for everyone that joined us today. I really appreciate it. And B&H, thank you.
You're welcome. And for the attendees that are here, keep an eye out. We will be doing a social media push for the signature housing. Like I said, now it is showing as a pre-order today, but we should have that cleared up by tomorrow for a final sale. If you have any other questions, we have a few moments left with Zach. I will try to go through and see if I missed anything. Well, there was a question actually. Do you shoot any other brands of camera other than Canon?
No. So I'm so fortunate and very lucky that I became a Canon Explorer of Light this past year. And it's been a lifelong dream. It's, cameras are kind of what you gravitate in the beginning, I think, and you start building your lenses and having all your equipment and doing things. My dad is a commercial photographer, shoots Canon. So when I started shooting photography, it was easy to grab one of his cameras, grab his lens, grab his things. And so that's where I just created a love for Canon. And becoming a Canon Explorer of Light and being able to speak for them and work with their latest and greatest equipment and techs has just been a real dream come true.
Fantastic. And then another question regarding the housings. Do you use silicone grease on your O-rings? Advice seems to vary these days.
No, not with the Aquatech housings. You don't need that. I recommend taking them out from time to time, cleaning them, wet paper towel or different things, drying it off, just making sure there's no sand, dust, or kind of like hairs on it.
Got it. All right. Well, with that, cool. I think that I am going to go ahead and let Zach get back to the rest of his day. Thank you for all of the attendees for joining us. I look forward to seeing you again. And I love the fact live on the air, we can talk about the next time you and I are going to hang out, because it makes my job a little bit easier to then make it happen.
Yes.
So hopefully I will be seeing you again soon, Zach. I look forward to seeing some new work. I have really enjoyed the time that I've known you, watching you grow and evolve as an artist and seeing more of the lifestyle and portrait work that you did. So I cannot wait to see what's next on the horizon for you, and look forward to seeing you around, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone again for tuning in.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the Wildlife Week at BH Photo. Do not forget that we have the sweepstakes that are still active. So please take a look at our website for that. I will drop a link in. And goodbye. Aloha. I look forward to seeing you again, bud.
Take care.